everybody, my name is Mars, you can call me MG if you would like, and today I will be talking about how I re-outlined my current writing project. You will probably have heard me refer to this project as a few different things because it has a couple of different names. I mostly just call it whimsy, but whimsy is technically the duology, and I am only working on the first book as of now, so sometimes I call it Whimsy Book 1. But also I call it CC because that is the initials for the actual title of book 1. So if you hear me at any point in this video or other videos talking about any of those three things, they're all the same project. This is my kind of silly, self-indulgent fantasy romance project that I've been working on for a little while now, and I've done many videos on it, and here we are with another one because at the end of 2025, I finished the first draft of the first book, and then in the beginning of 2026, I re-outlined it because I realized that the main issue with the first draft, why things weren't clicking, was because I wasn't getting to certain plot points fast enough, and so it was really messing with the pacing and like the development of the different arcs. So I was like, let me figure this out again and replot my book, essentially. And I did it in kind of a weird way that I've never done before, and I thought that would be a kind of interesting topic for a video. So here we are. I did not script this. I probably should have, but I did not have the time to do so, so I might be a little bit rambly, I might be a little bit repetitive in this video. I'm sorry about that, but that's kind of just how it goes. I hope this is still an interesting and informative video anyway. So I re-outlined this book in 2 steps. So we're going to start with step 1, which I call the 10% blocks. So as you can probably guess from the fact that I call it the 10% blocks, this is where I plotted things out in 10% increments. So that means there's 10 blocks, and with each one I looked at 5 main kind of focuses on what I wanted to occur in those 10% of the story. So I looked at the overarching plot. What are the actual events happening in this section of the book? I looked at the emotional characteristics of the 2 main characters. So I have Ainzel and I have Gilfire. Those are the couple in the book, and the chapters are alternating between their 2 POVs, and I wanted to make sure I knew exactly where each of them was situated in their emotional growth arc during each section of the book. The 4th thing I looked at was the romance plot specifically, so where the intersection of these 2 emotional arcs and the overarching plot come together to form this romance between the 2 characters. And then the 5th thing that I looked at is the use of magic. So this is a fantasy, and there are many types of magic in here. We have wizard magic, because my male main character Gilfire is a wizard. We have fae magic, which is kind of the opposite of wizard magic in terms of like source, if that makes sense. We've got what I call, I think I went with innate magic. I don't know, there's a few things where the like terms for it, I've been going back and forth on what I want to call it, so these things aren't set in stone, but for now it's kind of what I'm calling it. And those are things like my female main character, who is a changeling. Her magic is innate magic. It is separate from these other kinds. There's also a magical plague happening. It is a disease that eats the magic in someone's body, and it's just a whole lot going on. So I wanted a column on this chart to kind of let me know what facets of the magic system we are focusing on in this section, just to keep it a little bit clearer in my head. So I also put the name of the Save the Cat beat sheet beat for each of these 10% blocks, just to kind of keep it a little bit straighter in my head. I don't 100% subscribe to the idea of the beat sheet. I think it's a very good starting point. I like to use it in that way, but I don't like adhere to it 100% of the time. But I did put down, like, you know, the first 10% is the setup, the second 10% is the debate, then the next 30% chunk is the fun and games, that sort of thing, just to give me a little bit of a touchstone for where I'm at in the story. So I filled out this giant chart all the way beginning to end, from 10% all the way to 100% across these 5 categories, And from there, I moved on into outlining actual chapters within these 10% blocks. So doing these blocks, I kind of had to do a little bit of math. So based on just what I know about my writing style and also how the first draft turned out, I am estimating this book to probably end up around 100,000 words, maybe a few thousand less, probably a few thousand more, but 100,000 as like a ballpark estimate. And so I did the math, and that turned out to be that each block would then be 10,000 words. And knowing how I write my chapters and my usual chapter length, which does vary, but like my average chapter length, I figured out that I needed 3 or 4 chapters per block, and that really helped me conceptualize what I wanted to happen in each chapter, especially taking into account that I am bouncing back and forth between POVs, and that was something that I was kind of unsure if I would keep. I knew I would still do the 2 POVs, but I didn't know if I was going to do alternating each chapter between Ainzel and Gilfire. I thought maybe there might be some back-to-back ones that are from the same POV, but it ended up working out that I kept the like one chapter is Ainzel, the next chapter is Gilfire, etc., etc. And every single block ended up having 3 chapters, except for my midpoint. So the fun and games section, being 30% of the book, would have had 9 chapters. It actually has 10, and I kind of really enjoy the way that that happened because this is a romance between the 2 characters, and they are 2 important characters, but book 1 does focus a little bit more on Ainzel than it does Gilfire, and book 2 focuses a little bit more on Gilfire than it does Ainzel. And so by having that extra chapter to accommodate for the midpoint, the way the POVs work out is that Ainzel gets the opening chapter, the closing chapter, and the midpoint, and I just like the symmetry of that. So the total chapter outline ended up being 31 chapters, and I feel like that is a good number. It is manageable. It is less chapters than the original draft, which was like almost 50 chapters, I think, which I will say, when I first drafted this, I did not draft the entire book. There's like no third act, but I did like have big brain dumps where I wrote down what I wanted to happen in the third act. I just didn't actually write those out in prose. But it's fine because I don't do that for most of my drafts. Usually I get a little bit closer to the end before I give up and move on to the second draft, but it's okay. We still did what we needed to do, and I think that I'm not missing out on anything by not writing those chapters. I think it was a good time to move on to this second draft. So I am now in that second draft. At this point in time, I have only done the first 2 chapters, and I did those over a week ago because then things got kind of crazy. So there have been many days where I have not written. There have also been a couple of days where I was working on a different project, which we don't have to get into here. It's just like an idea that I had about a very old project. I was like, oh my god, wait, epiphany, this I need to like get out of my head. So I did that for like an hour, just brain dumping all of these thoughts I had on this project that I haven't really worked on in many years, and I also haven't really worked on with any sort of like sincerity or emphasis until this moment, but it's fine. I do plan on getting back into this second draft of Whimsy, book 1 of CC, very soon, and I am, fingers crossed, hoping to get this second draft done by the end of the month. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. I think I'm gonna do like a tiered goal for this where like it will be good if I can get it done by the end of February. It will be better if I can get it done by mid-February. It will be the best if I can get it done by the end of January. But regardless, I think it will still be fine no matter when I end up finishing it. I just have to figure out the time when I can actually work on it because life has been quite busy. But I do think this whole like setup that I've done with the re-outlining really created a good foundation for me so that it won't be too hard to actually do the drafting once I actually sit down to do it, if that makes sense. Yeah, that is essentially it. I Just wanted to come on here and share a little bit more of the writing journey with you guys. Let me know how things work in this kind of situation for you. If you finish a draft and you know why it's not working, do you kind of like sit down and try and re-outline it, or do you just jump straight into the next draft? I'm very curious to hear about it because I know everyone has such different writing styles, and I think it's fascinating to talk about. But we have now come to the end of the video. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.